Hello everybody and welcome to the official, and I'm sorry for keyboard clunking, this is the only microphone I have, to the official 1.19 Pi-Ray. So initially, how this is going to work is, I'm not going to explain it yet, but we're going to go over what Pi-Raying is in the older versions, what it is now, what was wrong with it, what can be wrong with it if you mess up, and how to fix the pie chart. This is not something like a download or anything. This is not leaving your game. This is not resetting. This is literally lowering your render by 1. And I'll explain it in a minute. I might have already spoiled it. So, what is the pie chart? The pie chart is a tool you can use for anything. Let's see, where's tick? Is that 5? Tick, level. Then you can have entities which show you like what kind of thing is in the area. Unspecified, I'm pretty sure, is player or player information, or it's nothing. Item, which is string. Oh, there's player right there. And then there's a creeper on my screen. That's not what pi-raying is, but that's what the pie chart can do. And it has like blocks that does nothing. Then we have block entities, which is our most important thing. As you can see, there's a spawner already on my pie chart. That's because it is in this thing that I will go over in a minute. But what can the pie chart detect with these settings? It can detect spawners, it can detect chests, it can detect bells. So dungeons, maybe, bastions, fortresses, which is probably the main point of why you're here, and the main point of pi-raying and why it was invented. Chests, more commonly with villages, bastions, the back ends of forts, ruin portals, maybe even a stronghold. I don't know. Chests are less reliable to pi-ray because they are everywhere. Bells should be an easy one because the villages aren't as common as you'd usually think, but you can still pi-ray bells and know what direction they are. Alright, so as you know already, I have conveniently placed a spawner. But before we get into this, you might want to already have clicked on the timestamp if you know what this is. Let's say the spawner is 14 chunks away, and then what do I want to do afterwards? This is for pre 1.18, when pie chart still worked in 1.17. So basically, hear me out. In 1.16, what you would do is lower your render by 4 and then raise it up by 3 and then go in each general direction and do, pi-ray. And whichever chunk you went into was the direction of the fort. Alright. And just for a little, whatever, simulation distance does not affect the pie chart for like anything. If you see this little mark right here, it's for E-raying. That and also render distance. You need these two cranked in order to find the bastion. Whatever. Anyways, what was wrong with the pie chart? So, as you know, there's nothing loaded in, And if I even go up all the way to the max and back down to the lowest, it won't work. This is because of this thing called render lock. And you might think it's because, oh, isn't it just because the spawner is stuck? What happened? No, it's not. It's just broken. That's what. It's not broken. So, render lock is a major issue because if you lower your render, you're not going to be able to get it back down. You're going to have to do a special thing that I'll show you in order to lower it. So, what are we going to need to do in order to unlock the pie chart? So, what we're going to do is lower our render. We're not going to leave the game. That's illegal in speedrunning. And exit the nether. In this case, enter the nether for me because I'm just using the super flat world as a tutorial. And then we're going to want to hop out of the portal and then refresh the pie chart. It should be nice and refreshed. And now you're going to want to press F3 and G. That is the key you want to see for the 15 by 15 chunk border and the chunk you're in. So what you are going to want to do is individually crank your render by 1. In this case, just see the small little flash, and then whenever you see that individual flash go, you're going to want to turn it up. Not the one you get from the pause while you're paused. Do the one after it does that. I don't know if it will take a second to load, but it should instantly load. Alright, now that you have your spawner, it's going to be what I like to call partially render locked, and you can't unrender lock it unless you do this one specific thing. Now, by lowering the render by 1, we have jingled the lock onto its very coarse where we can just shake the lock off. I want to not make this seem sus. Now, what we are going to do is go into each individual chunk in every direction. The ones right next to them, and we're going to refresh the pie chart. As you can see, the pie chart is no longer able of holding the spawner, and my initial theory on this was actually pretty wrong because the unrender spot could literally be from any side. I thought you had to go more towards the spawner and then away, but my initial theory was, it works, kind of. It just doesn't work as well. So what you're going to do now, just because you go into this one chunk and it unrenders the pie, does not mean that it is this way. So then you go in a general direction, and then you can see that there is a spawner. Alright, now let's talk a little bit more about render locking and the potentialness that I want to see out of you guys in unlocking the pie chart in an easier way than the portal and a quicker one. Because while I did happen to find one way that I cannot explain because I do not know it, I did find a way to unrender the spawner from the pie chart, and it's not that reliable, and it's janky. So the easiest way of unrendering the pie chart, unrender locking the pie chart, if you over render, is to go through the portal and hop back in. So what happens is 14 was the chunk we used to discover. As you can see, it's still on here because I did not go into the chunk. It should be behind me. Yep. Alright. Now let's say I crank it up to 17. And then the spawner is loaded in. And then I go back down to 13. And then I go through here. And then through here. Wait a minute. Brain fart. Maybe there is a way to deal with the render locking. Or is this just because the spawner is straight ahead of me? I think it's because it's straight ahead. Oh, there's the render lock. There's the render lock. Okay, so apparently over-rendering might not lead to render locking, but I know for a fact that under-rendering is bad. So you might not get messed around with if you under-render. I mean over-render, but yeah, don't under-render. And you know what? Just don't over-render as well. Anyways, let's go to the nether now because we are going to need to go there and do our second test. Do we have anything? Ah, yes, we have a spawner. And a chest. I'm going to want to unrender that as much as I possibly can. 6 is a surefire way. If there's a spawner at 6, you don't need to do the strategy because there's a spawner nearby. Is there still really a spawner nearby? Huh. The render distance shouldn't dictate exactly how far it is, but it should dictate what direction it is. Alright, let's figure this out. What is it? 4? 5? Not 6. Alright, now that we have our spawner on here, let us dictate the general direction of the spawner. Lower by 1. Go into this chunk, re-enter. Go into this chunk, re-enter. Go into this chunk, re-enter. And this is the case of my theory, which it was supposed to be for that spawner in the overworld, the test world, is that it should be towards the spawner, and then it unrenders when it's farther away from the spawner. So let's crank our render up to 13 now. We know where it is anyways. And voila. I'm going to show a clip of a person's reaction. His name's SamDao. And I'm doing this at the end because I might have to take this out. I don't know. Sam, please don't get mad at me. I'll leave a link to your channel And in part ways, Sam, you did actually help with this. You did make up a, you did make up some sort of pyre, and it was very close. You didn't make it all the way to the pyre. But I got to admit that I did take the idea of lower your render by 1 from you, so please watch this clip. Watch it to the end. He calls me a fraud.
I'm sensing a major amount of fraud right here. My fraud detectors are going off like crazy. Oh, okay. So it was on 19 chunks. I lower it. Now it's at 18 chunks. It's still there. Now I already lowered it by 1. Pyrite each direction until it's gone. Like, I reloaded by I lower by 1. I check every direction. This seems like just major fraud. Okay, this seems like just humongous fraud that's going on. I knew it wasn't gonna work. Check pipe. Wait a second. No shot. Wait a second. Wait a second. Hold up.